Let's talk about the positioning on what you have to do when it comes to your draft. How many people believe that the Eagles should trade out of the first round at 22? Somebody brought something interesting up about the quarterbacks. They said, Dan, do you think that the defensive talent can get pushed down the draft board and there'd be more quality guys at the bottom of the draft? I'm going to tell you guys, I believe that there's some really great quality players that you get in almost every draft at the top, but I think you have less chance of failure at the bottom of the first round than you do at the top of the first round. I think there's no coincidence. All the great teams. How can Kansas City be as good as they are and drafting 32nd every year? Do you ask yourself that? How can they be that good? Drafting in the 30s. Or the Steelers down there. Or when the Patriots were picking. Did you not ask yourself, how come all the shitty teams like the Jags, the Lions back in the day, the Jets, all those teams pick high in the draft? You would think eventually that's got to catch up. But it doesn't. But it doesn't. Right? It doesn't. So would you trade out of the first round to get more picks in 2 and 3? Like here, here's your trading partners. Okay, Chicago's getting the first pick. Washington's got the second. If I'm Washington, do I hang there? Or do I take a quarterback? Or do I draft Marvin Harrison? If you're Chicago, what are you doing with Justin Fields? Why don't you get him Marvin Harrison Jr.? They may have played together. Is it possible they played together at Ohio State? Is it possible they were at Ohio State together? Marvin Harrison Jr. and Justin Fields? He may have been a freshman, and Fields may have been a senior. So they may have played together. So I know that teams are now like Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. You're seeing that matchup where guys play Jalen and Devontae. So okay, right? New England's at 3. They're going to take a quarterback there. They're not hanging with Mac Jones. So you got Washington and you got New England taking 2 quarterbacks, which means 2 defensive players slide down the board. Arizona's got 2 first-round picks, 4 and 27. If you're Arizona, who you picking at 4? What are you doing with Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray your guy? Well, I need to get him some weapons. Is there a wide receiver after Marvin Harrison? Or do I trade down with the Chargers? The Giants. The Giants aren't going to take a quarterback. They just paid a guy. The Giants are going to take a wideout. What are the Chargers going to do? Sitting there at 5 with Jim Harbaugh. You're going to get a wideout. Got to get a wideout. What's Tennessee? Hey, Will Levis, do you like him? Do you like Will Levis? Atlanta, they need a quarterback. There's another one off the board. Moves another defensive guy down. Chicago with their second pick. They got 1 and 9. Chicago probably take a defensive guy here. The Jets, what are they going to do? Are you going to draft Aaron Rodgers, heir apparent, at quarterback here? Probably not. You're probably going to get another offensive lineman here for Aaron Rodgers. probably getting a lineman here, O-line, who's another defensive guy down the board. Minnesota, what are you going to do here? Going to draft a quarterback? Let's say you are, because you're not going to pay Cousins. You're already up to 4 quarterbacks drafted. Another defensive guy slides down the board. Denver, they're cutting Russell Wilson after June 1. 5 guys? Raiders just lose Garoppolo at 13. You going to draft a quarterback? Probably. I say 5 of those. I think 5 of those guys could go in the first 13 picks. Absolutely. And all those defensive guys just start sliding down. What are you going to do in New Orleans? You sticking with Derek Carr? You probably have to because of the money you gave his ass. Indianapolis, you got your guy last year. What are you going to do this year? Probably a wideout here. Seattle at 16. Geno just picked up last Friday, $12.7 million. You're not drafting a quarterback there. Probably take a defensive player there. So one of your star players defensively is off the board. One of them corners. 17, Jacksonville. What are they doing? I think Jacksonville, they need more help in that back end in their secondary. And I think they need help in the O-line. Cincinnati. What's T. Higgins doing? Probably drafting a wideout. Joe Burrow just gave him $55 million. The Rams. You got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Probably an O-lineman here. Number 20, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Do you trade that pick away at 20? Do you give the 20th pick to Denver? Is Russell Wilson worth the 20th pick to the Broncos? It is if they pick up some of that money. Would you do that? You pick up half the contract, I'll give you the 20th pick and you give us Wilson. Because the money's insane. They need a quarterback. And at 20, they're not going to get one of the better dudes. Do you trade down? Could be. What's Miami do at 21? They need defense and offensive line help. And they're at 22. What do you guys think the Eagles do at 22? I laid this out. By the way, these are kind of partners that you can look at and kind of what angle and direction they're going in now. You think they take a corner here? Does the 22nd pick match up with Kool-Aid? Or the kid Wiggins? I'd rather have Kool-Aid if I have to go draft here. Or, like I said, do you trade the 22nd pick to Chicago? Well, he's a free agent now. Though it depends tomorrow. It depends tomorrow. If the Bears tag him tomorrow, you'll know what Jalen Johnson and his future is in Chicago. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that tag is like over $20 million for a corner. Okay? $23 is Houston. Jesus. Houston's sitting at 23. They got $67 million in cap space, and they're good. Man, Nick Caserio is in such a great place. I'd take that 23rd pick. What do they need? They need edge rushers. They need people on defense. And they're going to hang over there on that side of the ball. Or maybe O-line. They got Jeremy Tunsil. He's playing great ball. Dallas at 24. Dallas has to use this pick. Why does Dallas have to use their pick and not trade it? Or they trade out of one and down because of the money. They're $14 million in the red. Dallas can't sit here and jack around with that pick. 24th pick. I mean, they need another wideout. They got shit out of the other guys. They got the tight end is their second best offensive player. And I would draft probably a receiver. Their back end is great. They're getting Diggs back too. Dallas is $14 million in the hole. They got to figure out Dak. Green Bay's at 25. I would say this about Green Bay. What do they need? Secondary? Secondary? O-line. Yep. O-line. The Green Bay's a lot like Philly. O-line. Yep. Big Chris. O-line. O-line. Yes, sir. The Bucs got to replace Mike Evans. You know, they've already informed him that they're not picking his deal up because they don't want to pay him $20 million, $25 million. Mike Evans is going to get that money. God forbid that guy lands in Kansas City. God forbid he lands in KC. Now, he may not get that money because he's 31. But Mike Evans is a sure thing. You put him in Kansas City or Justin Jefferson. Dude, I'll tell you what. Kansas City, $25 million of cap space, and you got two decisions to be made at wideout that guys can impact your team. And that guy needs – can you imagine how much better Kansas City would be with Evans or Justin Jefferson? It'd be a different team. It's going to move off – you're either moving off of Snead or you're moving off of Chris Jones. But you're moving off of one of them. You're not going to pay both of them. One guy's going to get 30 and the other guy's going to get 20. And you got 23 million. You got to pay your rookies. Okay? 26 is the Bucs. Bucs don't need it. Bucs are probably going to stick with going for Evans, like I just said. Maybe a quarterback. Arizona gets their second pick. They got the 4th and the 27th pick. Where would Arizona go? Arizona's got to do everything in their power to see if Kyler Murray's the guy. Do you go running back here? I don't know if there's one qualified to be in that position. So I'd probably go wide out. By the way, where do I think that kid Bowers goes? The Giants. Washington. If I was going to draft the kid Bowers from Georgia, how about Chicago? The first pick in the draft, you draft the kid Bowers, that tight end for Justin Fields. Jets, Bowers is not going to be there by 10. Absolutely no way. Now, I'd rather have the tight end than Marvin Harrison Jr. Tight ends are harder to cover in the NFL today. Why? Because there's less linebackers in the league today. There's more good corners in the league. Go by the numbers. Remember that. Always play the averages when you're building a team. What guy has a better chance of getting open every game? The tight end. Because there's not when you play teams like the Giants, the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Titans, Carolina, they're all shitty linebackers. You're going to run into a good corner on any one of those teams. Okay? You're going to run into good corners. You're not going to run into very many good linebackers. You're just not. Boy, Washington for Bowers, he won't get past New England because of the history they had with Gronk. I could see them, New England, taking him third. Okay? I could see them taking him third. And Kirk Cousins up there in New England? Cousins to Bowers? The Chargers getting him at 5? Wow. With Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen? That might be something to look at for Jim Harbaugh. The kid Bowers, Keenan Allen, and Justin Herbert. Baltimore's at 28. I'm hearing that they're looking at, we were talking about Alvin Kamara. Okay. We were talking about Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, supposedly, there's some sort of conversation with the Saints and Alvin Kamara and Baltimore. That'd be somebody where, imagine Alvin Kamara in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. You got Detroit at 29. What do they need? Secondary help. San Francisco at 31. Replace Ayuk. Maybe another old lineman. Wow, that's a great one there. Who said that? Denny. Mike Evans to Baltimore. Man, Mike Evans is he's going to change a team. He's going to change a team. Can you imagine? Look at this. So Mike Evans in Baltimore, the Rams, Houston, Dallas. Dallas don't have the money. Detroit. Green Bay. Mike Evans to Green Bay for Jordan Love. I think the organization would probably go for that. You know why? You got to be sold on the kid. I mean, you've got to be sold on him. Watching him play, hey, he had just as much, in my opinion, you have to be just as sold on him as you were sold on Hurts after 1 year. Okay? I mean, this guy threw for 31 touchdowns, over $4,000. Dismantled the Cowboys. He was awful good, man. He was awful good. Evans to Indy to help Richardson. Plus, you have Jonathan Taylor running the ball. And I do think they're going to, you know what, too? And I think they're going to franchise tag Michael Pittman. Okay? I think they're going to franchise tag him. So that could end that. Now, Tone, to your point, if they don't tag Pittman, that could be a home for Evans. They're not going to put, now, wait a minute. Could you put two $20 million wide receivers on a team with a quarterback that's on a rookie deal? Yes. That's where that works. That would be frightening. Pittman, Evans, Taylor, and I like, hey, I'll tell you what, Anthony Richardson, I thought Shane Steichen did a nice job. I thought he did a nice job with him for the amount of plays that I saw him playing. I really did. I thought he did. Kansas City, what would they take? Got to be tackle, D-tackle. If you're going to let Chris Jones go, you're going to have to draft a defensive tackle or trade out of that pick to get multiple picks. Because 32, I don't know. You know, you have to be in – when you're down there like that, you got to be in love with a guy. DT or corner, it's going to decide who they – yeah. Tomorrow, the franchise tag, That'll determine what Kansas City's going to do. I think that the right. You see how this all falls in play now? You're figuring out what I have to do money-wise. Say, let's just use like Yale was saying this earlier. They're totally talking about this Devontae Smith deal. This Devontae Smith May 2nd deal is a pretty key date for them. Okay? You're not going to let Devontae Smith, this would be his final year, and he'd be a free agent in the offseason. You're not doing that. You're totally not doing that. Yeah, that's what I do. Guy goes out and gets 1,300 yards or another 1,000-yard season. He got 4,000 yards. He's got another 100-catch season. You're going to let that guy walk into the offseason, a free agent? I'll tell you what, maybe his representation would like that. Because on the open market, he's a $25 million a year guy. I think so too, Tone. I think they've got to pick that option up to protect themselves. You can't do this. Okay? You've got to pick that fifth-year option up. And that means $15 million automatically punched to your – you see how that – you know the money that you're going to save by getting the buyer deal done? By cutting him, 13? You net $2 million after that. Once you put that extension on there, you got $15 million added. 13 off. Okay. Minus $2 million. You lost $2 million on that transaction to your cap. All of that is going to play in how you rebuild. All right, let me take a time out. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.